Welcome back, Frugal Friends. So for today's quick crafting project, all supplies from the dumpster, of course, except for this one package of needles and the glue gun. Everything else is from the bins. So if you have seen the movie, it's on Netflix right now. It's called Trick or Treat. There is a character in there, the monster in there. He's pretty horrible, and he has a little round head and like an orange jumpsuit, and his head is covered in burlap and has like 2 button eyes. Well, I was watching that yesterday because I'm, of course, binge watching tons and tons of Halloween favorites, and it sparked an idea in my head, and I thought I could make one of those. I don't want to make the whole body, I just want to make the head and plant it in one of my planters. And so I remembered I had found these drink thingies in the dollar store bins and looking just like this. There was one other, and sadly I had gone ahead and put that in like either the donation or the recycling pile before I came up with this idea, so I will only be able to make one, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. So I have a dowel. You may remember we got a bunch of these dowels in the bins, last summer, summer before. I have all kinds of ribbons and threads and shoelaces and kind of hempy type stuff. And then all this burlap that is also from the bins. And so the idea is I'm going to cover this with the plain burlap, and then I'm going to thread up whichever of these I end up deciding to use. I want it to show up, which is kind of the main issue here, because this is like exactly the same color, and I don't think that'll show very well. But this is also incredibly sparkly, and, you know, it doesn't quite match the character, so I don't know. We'll see. And then there was that big bottle with the button-shaped lid that had buttons in it that we found just this last weekend, and I grabbed these 2 buttons out of there, and they are going to work just fine. They're not exactly the same as the ones on Trick or Treat, but I think they'll do the job, and I think it'll look pretty good. So I am going to double check what his head looked like and where all of the stitches went, and then whilst watching, I think the next movie I'm watching is Shaun of the Dead, followed by 28 Days Later, I will be working on this, and I'll just bring you along as we make some progress. All right, so I was getting ready to cut the burlap, and I put the little ball under there, but do you know, it was just showing through too much, and then I thought, well, I could spray paint this white, but then I'd have to wait for it to dry, and I don't want to do that. So then I tried having some of this dark blue burlap under the regular burlap, and having that, and that does cover plenty, and then you can't see through. And I think having the 2 different tones, though it's not exactly like the character, I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. All right, so sitting here in the living room, floor still torn out, but my husband and I next week, hopefully, are going to be starting to put that in together. So stay tuned for that as the renovation continues. Speaking of continuing, we are working on little Trick or Treat guy. I cannot for the life of me remember his character's name, or if he even had a name. I'll look it up. Hopefully it'll be flashing across the screen right now. So I glued the blue burlap onto the ball, and then I shaped the regular burlap over and used this stuff to tie it on. It has these beads on it, which are definitely not true to the original character, but I like the way they look, so they're staying on, at least for now. Then I used the sparkly thread and one of the big needles and went all the way around here, but first I did a fold along. There was already the original fold line, but then I did a little fold and hot glued it down because that's how it looked in the picture, and then did the stitching over and around it. So this took a long time, a lot longer than I had anticipated, mostly because I had to take so many breaks to rest my hand. But we got it. He has a mouth, and he has that thing there. The mouth I was hoping would be more, you know, kind of angled like this, but I've decided I am going to be happy with what I was able to do. So there you go. He's got a mouth. We'll just say he's making a very grim face. And considering what he is, which is a little murderer, I think that's okay. So, all right, I'm going to rest yet again, and then I'm going to put his eyes on. And so it'll be the little buttons, but on the picture, it was like white kind of twine that was holding the buttons on. We found this in the bins last weekend. I'm going to see if it isn't too thick for these buttons. If it is, then I will just go ahead and use some white string. So I had to go with some different button eyes, and these two are actually like, well, obviously mismatched, but the reason I did is if you look at the picture, here's the picture, you'll notice that the eyes have like a crisscross of the string, and I couldn't do that with the other buttons because they were only 2 hole. So there you go. He looks pretty good in my opinion. You know, one thing that we could add if I was in the mood would be like a little bit of paint to like smudge him up a little bit, make him look a little dirty, but I'm happy with him as he is. So let's see if we can find him a home. So I did add a little bit of, just a couple of sprays of red spray paint kind of in his mouth area. Not sure if I'm in love with it, but it does add a little bit of spookiness to it. He is now out happily in the yard, joining the rest of our Halloween stuff. Stay tuned, I will very soon be finishing up what we're doing with the yard for Halloween, and then I will give you guys all a little fun tour. But there you go. Thank you for joining us for this quick little dumpster upcycled Halloween craft. We will see you all very soon.